I bet you didn't know the deep significance of sacrifice in Islamic births. Let's explore. In Islam, the birth of a baby is celebrated with a tradition called akika. This involves sacrificing an animal, usually a sheep or goat, to thank Allah for the newborn. The meat is then shared with family, friends, and those in need. It's a beautiful way to express gratitude and foster community ties. Now you know. Volume 7, Book 66, number 376. Narrated by Abu Musa. A son was born to me, and I took him to the Prophet, who named him Ibrahim, did tonic for him with a date, invoked Allah to bless him, and returned him to me. The narrator added, that was Abu Musa's eldest son. Volume 7, Book 66, number 377. Narrated by Aisha. A boy was brought to the Prophet to do tonic for him, but the boy urinated on him, whereupon the Prophet had water poured on the place of urine. Volume 7, Book 66, number 378. Narrated by Asma bint Abu Bakr. I conceived Abdullah bin Azubair at Mecca and went out of Mecca while I was about to give birth. I came to Medina and encamped at Quba and gave birth at Quba. Then I brought the child to Allah's apostle and placed it on his lap. He asked for a date, chewed it, and put his saliva in the mouth of the child. So the first thing to enter its stomach was the saliva of Allah's apostle. Then he did its tonic with a date and invoked Allah to bless him. It was the first child born in the Islamic era. Therefore they, Muslims, were very happy with its birth, for it had been said to them that the Jews had bewitched them, and so they would not produce any offspring. Volume 7, Book 66, number 379, narrated by Anas bin Malik. Abu Talha had a child who was sick. Once, while Abu Talha was out, the child died. When Abu Talha returned home, he asked, "How does my son fare?" Salaim, his wife, replied, "He is quieter than he has ever been." Then she brought supper for him, and he took his supper and slept with her. When he had finished, she said to him, "Bury the child, as he's dead." Next morning, Abu Talha came to Allah's apostle and told him about that. The Prophet said to him, "Did you sleep with your wife last night?" Abu Talha said, "Yes." The Prophet said, "O Allah, bestow your blessing on them as regards that night of theirs." Sulaim gave birth to a boy. Abu Talha told me to take care of the child till it was taken to the Prophet. Then Abu Talha took the child to the Prophet, and Sulaim sent some dates along with the child. The Prophet took the child on his lap and asked if there was something with him. The people replied, "Yes, a few dates." The Prophet took a date, chewed it, took some of it out of his mouth, put it into the child's mouth, and did tonic for him with that, and named him Abdullah. Volume 7, Book 66, number 379, narrated by Anas as above. Volume 7, Book 66, number 380, narrated by Salman bin Amir ad-Dabi. I heard Allah's apostle saying, "Akika is to be offered for a newly born boy, so slaughter an animal for him and relieve him of his suffering." Note: it has been quoted in Fateh al-Bari that the majority of the religious scholars agrees to the hadith narrated in Sahih at-Tirmidhi that the Prophet was asked about akika, and he ordered 2 sheep for a boy and 1 sheep for a girl, and that is his tradition, Sunnah. Volume 7, Book 66, number 381, narrated by Habib bin Ash-Shahid. Ibn Sirin told me to ask Al-Hasan from whom he had heard the narration of akika. I asked him, and he said, from Samura bin Jundab. Volume 7, Book 66, number 382, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, "Neither farah nor atira is permissible. Al-farah nor atira is permissible." Al-farah was the first offspring of camels or sheep, which the pagans used to offer, as a sacrifice, to their idols, and Al-atira was a sheep which was to be slaughtered during the month of Rajab. Volume 7, Book 66, number 383, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, "Neither farah nor atira is permissible." Al-farah was the first offspring they got of camels or sheep, which they, pagans, used to offer as a sacrifice to their idols. Atira was a sheep which used to be slaughtered during the month of Rajab. Volume 7, Book 67, number 384, narrated by Adi bin Hatim. I asked the Prophet about the game killed by a mirad, that is a sharp-edged piece of wood or a piece of wood provided with a sharp piece of iron used for hunting. He said, "If the game is killed with its sharp edge, eat of it, but if it is killed with its shaft, with a hit by its broadside, then the game is unlawful to eat, for it has been beaten to death." I asked him about the game killed by a trained hound. He said, "If the hound catches the game for you, eat of it, for killing the game by the hound is like its slaughtering. But if you see with your hound or hounds another dog, and you are afraid that it might have shared in hunting the game with your hound and killed it, then you should not eat of it, because you have mentioned Allah's name on sending your hound only, but you have not mentioned it on some other hound." Volume 7, Book 67, number 385. Narrated by Adi bin Hatim. I asked Allah's apostle about the mirad. He said, "If you hit the game with its sharp edge, eat it. But if the mirad hits the game with its shaft with a hit by its broadside, do not eat it, for it has been beaten to death with a piece of wood. That is unlawful." I asked, "If I let loose my trained hound after a game?" He said, "If you let loose your trained hound after game and mention the name of Allah, then you can eat." I said, "If the hound eats of the game?" He said, "Then you should not eat of it, for the hound has hunted the game for itself and not for you." I said, "Sometimes I send my hound and then I find some other hound with it." He said, "Don't eat the game, as you have mentioned the name of Allah on your dog only and not on the other." Volume 7, Book 67, number 386. Narrated by Adi bin Hatim. I said, "O Allah's apostle, we let loose our trained hounds after a game." He said, "Eat what they hunt for you." I said, "Even if they killed the game?" He replied, "Even if they killed the game." I said, "We also hit the game with the murad." He said, "Eat of the animal which the murad kills by piercing its body, but do not eat of the animal which is killed by the broadside of the murad." Volume 7, Book 67, number 387. Narrated by Abu Thalaba al-Kushani. I said, "O Allah's Prophet, we are living in a land ruled by the people of the Scripture. Can we take our meals in their utensils? In that land there is plenty of game, and I hunt the game with my bow, and with my hound that is not trained, and with my trained hound. Then what is lawful for me to eat?" He said, "As for what you have mentioned about the people of the Scripture, if you can get utensils other than theirs, do not eat out of theirs. But if you cannot get other than theirs, wash their utensils and eat out of it. If you hunt an animal with your bow after mentioning Allah's name, eat of it. And if you hunt something with your trained hound after mentioning Allah's name, eat of it. And if you hunt something with your untrained hound and get it before it dies, and slaughter it, eat of it." Volume 7, Book 67, number 388. Narrated by Abdullah bin Magafal. That he saw a man throwing stones with 2 fingers at something, and said to him, "Do not throw stones, for Allah's apostle has forbidden throwing stones, or he used to dislike it." Abdullah added, "Throwing stones will neither hunt the game, nor kill, or hurt an enemy, but it may break a tooth, or gouge out an eye." Afterwards, Abdullah once again saw the man throwing stones. He said to him, "I tell you that Allah's apostle has forbidden or disliked the throwing the stones in such a way, yet you are throwing stones. I shall not talk to you for such and such a period." Volume 7, Book 67, number 389, narrated by Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, "Whoever keeps a pet dog which is neither a watchdog nor a hunting dog will get a daily deduction of 2 karat from his good deeds." Volume 7, Book 67, number 390, narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. I heard the Prophet saying, "If someone keeps a dog neither for hunting nor for guarding livestock, the reward for his good deeds will be reduced by 2 kirats per day." Volume 7, Book 67, number 391, narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. Allah's apostle said, "If someone keeps a dog neither for guarding livestock nor for hunting, his good deeds will decrease, in reward, by 2 kirats a day." Volume 7, Book 67, number 392, narrated by Adi bin Hatim. I asked Allah's apostle, "We hunt with the help of these hounds." He said, "If you let loose your trained hounds after a game and mention the name of Allah, then you can eat what the hounds catch for you, even if they killed the game. But you should not eat of it if the hound has eaten of it, for then it is likely that the hound has caught the game for itself, and if other hounds join your hound in hunting the game, then do not eat of it." Volume 7, Book 67, number 393, narrated by Adi bin Hatim. The Prophet said, "If you let loose your hound after a game and mention Allah's name on sending it, and the hound catches the game and kills it, then you can eat of it. But if the hound eats of it, then you should not eat thereof, for the hound has caught it for itself. And if along with your hound join other hounds, and Allah's name was not mentioned at the time of their sending, and they catch an animal and kill it, you should not eat of it, for you will not know which of them has killed it. And if you have thrown an arrow at the game and then find it dead 2 or 3 days later, and it bears no mark other than the wound inflicted by your arrow, then you can eat of it. But if the game is found dead in water, then do not eat of it. And it has also been narrated by Adi bin Hatim that he asked the Prophet, if a hunter throws an arrow at the game, and after tracing it for 2 or 3 days he finds it dead but still bearing his arrow, can he eat of it? The Prophet replied, he can eat if he wishes. Volume 7, Book 67, number 394, narrated by Adi bin Hatim. I said, O Allah's Apostle, I let loose my hound after a game and mention Allah's name on sending it. The Prophet said, if you let loose your hound after a game and you mention Allah's name on sending it, and the hound catches and kills the game and eats of it, then you should not eat of it, for it has killed it for itself. I said, sometimes when I send my hound after a game, I find another hound along with it, and I do not know which of them has caught the game. He said, you must not eat of it because you have not mentioned the name of Allah except on sending your own hound, and you did not mention it on the other hound. Then I asked him about the game hunted with a murad, that is a sharp-edged piece of wood or a piece of wood provided with a sharp piece of iron used for hunting. He said, if the game is killed with its sharp edge, you can eat of it, but if it is killed by its broadside, shaft, you cannot eat of it, for then it is like an animal beaten to death with a piece of wood. Volume 7, Book 67, number 395, narrated by Adi bin Hatim. I asked Allah's Apostle, we hunt with these hounds. He said, if you send your trained hounds after a game and mention Allah's name on sending, you can eat of what they catch for you. But if the hound eats of the game, then you must not eat of it, for I am afraid that the hound caught it for itself, and if another hound joins your hounds during the hunt, you should not eat of the game. Volume 7, Book 67, number 396, narrated by Abu Thalaba al-Kushani. I came to Allah's Apostle and said, O Allah's Apostle, we are living in the land of the people of the Scripture, and we take our meals in their utensils, and in the land there is game, and I hunt with my bow and trained or untrained hounds. Please tell me what is lawful for us of that. He said, as for your saying that you are living in the land of the people of the Scripture and that you eat in their utensils, if you can get utensils other than theirs, do not eat in their utensils, but if you do not find other than theirs, then wash their utensils and eat in them. As for your saying that you are in the land of game, if you hung something with your bow and have mentioned Allah's name while hunting, then you can eat the game. And if you hunt something with your trained hound and have mentioned Allah's name on sending it for hunting, then you can eat the game. But if you hunt something with your untrained hound and you were able to slaughter it before its death, you can eat of it. Volume 7, Book 67, number 397, narrated by Anas bin Malik. We provoked a rabbit at Mar az-Zaran till it started jumping. My companions chased it till they got tired, but I alone ran after it and caught it and brought it to Abu Talha. He sent both its legs to the Prophet who accepted them. Volume 7, Book 67, number 398, narrated by Abu Qatada. That once he was with Allah's Apostle on the way to Mecca. When he had covered some of the way to Mecca, he and some companions of his, who were in the state of Ihram, remained behind the Prophet while Abu Qatada himself was not in the state of Ihram. Abu Qatada, seeing an onager, rode his horse and asked his companions to hand him a whip, but they refused. He then asked them to hand him his spear, but they refused. Then he took it himself and attacked the onager and killed it. Some of the companions of Allah's Apostle ate of it, but some others refused to eat. When they met Allah's Apostle, they asked him about that. He said, it was meal given to you by Allah. Volume 7, Book 67, number 399, narrated by Abu Qatada, the same hadith above, but he added, the Prophet asked, is there any of its meat left with you? Volume 7, Book 67, number 400, narrated by Abu Qatada. I was with the Prophet on a journey between Mecca and Medina, and all of them, that is the Prophet and his companions, were in the state of Ihram, while I was not in that state. I was riding my horse and I used to be fond of ascending mountains. So while I was doing so, I noticed that the people were looking at something. I went to see what it was, and behold, it was an onager. I asked my companions, what is that? They said, we do not know. I said, it is an onager. They said, it is what you have seen. I had left my whip, so I said to them, hand to me my whip. They said, we will not help you in that, in hunting the onager. I got down, took my whip and chased the animal, on my horse, and did not stop till I killed it. I went to them and said, "Come on, carry it." But they said, "We will not even touch it." At last, I alone carried it and brought it to them. Some of them ate of it and some refused to eat of it. I said to them, "I will ask the prophet about it, on your behalf." When I met the prophet, I told him the whole story. He said to me, "Has anything of it been left with you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Eat, for it is a meal Allah has offered to you." Volume 7, Book 67, number 401, narrated by Jabir. We went out in a campaign and the army was called the Army of the Copt, and Abu Ubaidah was our commander. We were struck with severe hunger. Then the sea threw a huge dead fish called al-anbar, the like of which had never been seen. We ate of it for half a month, and then Abu Ubaidah took one of its bones and made an arch of it, so that a rider could easily pass under it. Volume 7, Book 67, number 402, narrated by Jabir. The Prophet sent us as an army unit of 300 warriors under the command of Abu Ubaidah to ambush a caravan of the Quraysh. But we were struck with such severe hunger that we ate the Copt, desert bushes, so our army was called the Army of the Copt. Then the sea threw a huge fish called al-anbar, and we ate of it for half a month and rubbed our bodies with its fat till our bodies became healthy. Then Abu Ubaidah took one of its ribs and fixed it over the ground, and a rider passed underneath it. There was a man amongst us who slaughtered 3 camels when hunger became severe, and he slaughtered 3 more, but after that Abu Ubaidah forbade him to do so. Volume 7, Book 67, number 403, narrated by Ibn Abi Awfa. We participated with the Prophet in 6 or 7 ghazawat, and we used to eat locusts with him. Volume 7, Book 67, number 404, narrated by Abu Thalaba al-Kushani. I came to the Prophet and said, "O Allah's Apostle, we are living in the land of the people of the Scripture, and we take our meals in their utensils, and there is game in that land, and I hunt with my bow and with my trained hound and with my untrained hound." The Prophet said, "As for your saying that you are in the land of people of the Scripture, you should not eat in their utensils unless you find no alternative, in which case you must wash the utensils and then eat in them. As for your saying that you are in the land of game, if you hunt something with your bow, mention Allah's name while hunting the game, and eat, and if you hunt something with your trained hound, mention Allah's name on sending and eat, and if you hunt something with your untrained hound and get it alive, slaughter it and you can eat of it." Volume 7, Book 67, number 405, narrated by Salama bin al-Aqwa. In the evening of the day of the conquest of Khaybar, the army made fires for cooking. The Prophet said, "For what have you made these fires?" They said, "For cooking the meat of domestic donkeys." He said, "Throw away what is in the cooking pots and break the pots." A man from the people got up and said, "Shall we throw the contents of the cooking pots and then wash the pots instead of breaking them?" The Prophet said, "Yes, you can do either." Volume 7, Book 67, number 406, narrated by Rafi bin Khadij. We were with the Prophet in Dhul Hulaifa, and there the people were struck with severe hunger. Then we got camels and sheep as war booty, and slaughtered them. The Prophet was behind all the people. The people hurried and fixed the cooking pots for cooking, but the Prophet came there and ordered that the cooking pots be turned upside down. Then he distributed the animals, regarding 10 sheep as equal to 1 camel. One of the camels ran away, and there were a few horses with the people. They chased the camel, but they got tired, whereupon a man shot it with an arrow, whereby Allah stopped it. The Prophet said, "Among these animals some are as wild beasts, so if one of them runs away from you, treat it in this way." I said, "We hope, or we are afraid that tomorrow we will meet the enemy and we have no knives. Shall we slaughter our animals with canes?" The Prophet said, "If the killing tool causes blood to gush out, and if Allah's name is mentioned, eat of the slaughterer animal. But do not slaughter with a tooth or a nail. I am telling you why. A tooth is a bone, and the nail is the knife of Ethiopians." Volume 7, Book 67, number 407, narrated by Abdullah Allah's Apostle, said that he met Zayd bin Amr Nufail at a place near Balda, and this had happened before Allah's Apostle received the divine inspiration. Allah's Apostle presented a dish of meat that had been offered to him by the pagans to Zayd bin Amr, but Zayd refused to eat of it and then said to the pagans, "I do not eat of what you slaughter on your stone altars, ansabs, nor do I eat except that on which Allah's name has been mentioned on slaughtering." Volume 7, Book 67, number 408, narrated by Jundub bin Sufyan al-Bajali. Once during the lifetime of Allah's apostle, we offered some animals as sacrifices. Some people slaughtered their sacrifices before the Eid prayer. So when the Prophet finished his prayer, he saw that they had slaughtered their sacrifices before the prayer. He said, "Whoever has slaughtered his sacrifice before the prayer should slaughter another sacrifice in lieu of it, and whoever has not yet slaughtered it till we have prayed should slaughter it by mentioning Allah's name." Volume 7, Book 67, number 409, narrated by Cobb, that a slave girl of theirs used to shepherd some sheep at Sia, a mountain near Medina. On seeing one of her sheep dying, she broke a stone and slaughtered it. Cobb said to his family, "Do not eat of it till I go to the Prophet and ask him, or till I send someone to ask him." So he went to the Prophet or sent someone to him. The Prophet permitted them to eat it. Volume 7, Book 67, number 410, narrated by Abdullah that Cobb had a slave girl who used to graze his sheep on a small mountain called Slah, situated near the market. Once a sheep was dying, so she broke a stone and slaughtered it with it. When they mentioned that to the Prophet, he permitted them to eat it. Volume 7, Book 67, number 411, narrated by Rafi bin Khadij, that he said, "O Allah's apostle, we have no knife." The Prophet said, "If the killing tool causes blood to gush out, and if Allah's name is mentioned, eat of the slaughtered animal. But do not slaughter with a nail or a tooth, for the nail is the knife of Ethiopians and a tooth is a bone." Suddenly a camel ran away and it was stopped with an arrow. The Prophet then said, "Of these camels there are some which are as wild beasts, so if one of them runs away from you and you cannot catch it, treat it in this manner, that is, shoot it with an arrow." Volume 7, Book 67, number 412, narrated by Ka'b bin Malik. A lady slaughtered a sheep with a stone, and then the Prophet was asked about it, and he permitted it to be eaten. Volume 7, Book 67, number 413, narrated by Mu'ad bin Sa'd or Sa'd bin Mu'ad. A slave girl belonging to Ka'b used to graze some sheep at Slah mountain. Once one of her sheep was dying. She reached it, before it died, and slaughtered it with a stone. The Prophet was asked, and he said, "Eat it." Volume 7, Book 67, number 414, narrated by Rafi bin Khadij. The Prophet said, "Eat what is slaughtered with any instrument that makes blood flow out, except what is slaughtered with a tooth or a nail." Volume 7, Book 67, number 415, narrated by Aisha. A group of people said to the Prophet, "Some people bring us meat and we do not know whether they have mentioned Allah's name or not on slaughtering the animal." He said, "Mention Allah's name on it and eat." Those people had embraced Islam recently. Volume 7, Book 67, number 416, narrated by Abdullah bin Mughaffal. While we were besieging the castle of Khaybar, somebody threw a skinful of fat and I went ahead to take it. But on looking behind, I saw the Prophet and I felt shy in his presence and did not take it. Volume 7, Book 67, number 417, narrated by Rafi bin Khadij. I said, "O Allah's apostle, we are going to face the enemy tomorrow and we do not have knives." He said, "Hurry up in killing the animal. If the killing tool causes blood to flow out and if Allah's name is mentioned, eat of the slaughtered animal, but do not slaughter with a tooth or a nail. I will tell you why. As for the tooth, it is a bone, and as for the nail, it is the knife of Ethiopians." Then we got some camels and sheep as war booty, and one of those camels ran away, whereupon a man shot it with an arrow and stopped it. Allah's apostle said, "Of these camels there are some which are as wild beasts, so if one of them runs away and makes you tired, treat it in this manner." Volume 7, Book 67, number 418, narrated by Asma bint Abu Bakr. We slaughtered a horse, by Nar, during the lifetime of the Prophet and ate it. Volume 7, Book 67, number 419, narrated by Asma. We slaughtered a horse, by Dab, during the lifetime of Allah's apostle while we were at Medina, and we ate it. Volume 7, Book 67, number 420, narrated by Asma bint Abu Bakr. We slaughtered a horse, by Nar, during the lifetime of Allah's apostle and ate it. Volume 7, Book 67, number 421, narrated by Hisham bin Zaid. Anas and I went to Al-Hakam bin Ayyub. Anas saw some boys shooting at a tied hen. Anas said, "The Prophet has forbidden the shooting of tied or confined animals." Volume 7, Book 67, number 422, narrated by Ibn Umar, that he entered upon Yahya bin Sa'id, while one of Yahya's sons was aiming at a hen after tying it. Ibn Umar walked to it and untied it. Then he brought it and the boy and said, Prevent your boys from tying the birds for the sake of killing them, as I have heard the Prophet forbidding the killing of an animal or other living thing after tying them. Volume 7, Book 67, number 423. Narrated by Sa'id bin Jubair. While I was with Ibn Umar, we passed by a group of young men who had tied a hen and started shooting at it. When they saw Ibn Umar, they dispersed, leaving it. On that Ibn Umar said, "Who has done this?" The Prophet cursed the one who did so. Volume 7, Book 67, number 424. Narrated by Ibn Umar. The Prophet cursed the one who did muthla to an animal, i.e., cut its limbs or some other part of its body while it is still alive. Volume 7, Book 67, number 425. Narrated by Abdullah bin Yazid. The Prophet forbade an-nuba and al-muthla. Volume 7, Book 67, number 426. Narrated by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. I saw the Prophet eating chicken. Volume 7, Book 67, number 427. Narrated by Zadam. We were in the company of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, and there were friendly relations between us and this tribe of Jarm. Abu Musa was presented with a dish containing chicken. Among the people there was sitting a red-faced man who did not come near the food. Abu Musa said to him, "Come on and eat, for I have seen Allah's apostle eating of it, that is chicken." He said, "I have seen it eating something dirty, and since then I have disliked it, and have taken an oath that I shall not eat it." Abu Musa said, "Come on, I will tell you, or narrate to you. Once I went to Allah's apostle with a group of al-Ashariyin, and met him while he was angry, distributing some camels of rakat. We asked for mounts, but he took an oath that he would not give us any mounts, and added, "I have nothing to mount you on." In the meantime, some camels of booty were brought to Allah's apostle, and he asked twice, "Where are al-Ashariyin?" So he gave us 5 white camels with big humps. We stayed for a short while, after we had covered a little distance, and then I said to my companions, "Allah's apostle has forgotten his oath. By Allah, if we do not remind Allah's apostle of his oath, we will never be successful." So we returned to the Prophet and said, "O Allah's apostle, we asked you for mounts, but you took an oath that you would not give us any mounts. We think that you have forgotten your oath." He said, "It is Allah who has given you mounts. By Allah and Allah willing, if I take an oath and later find something else better than that, then I do what is better and expiate my oath." Volume 7, Book 67, number 428, narrated by Asma. We slaughtered a horse during the lifetime of Allah's apostle and ate it. Volume 7, Book 67, number 429, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. On the day of the Battle of Khaybar, Allah's apostle made donkey's meat unlawful and allowed the eating of horse flesh. Volume 7, Book 67, number 430, narrated by Ibn Umar. The Prophet made the meat of donkeys unlawful on the day of the Battle of Khaybar. Volume 7, Book 67, number 431, narrated by Ibn Umar. The Prophet prohibited the eating of donkey's meat. Volume 7, Book 67, number 432, narrated by Ali Allah's apostle, prohibited al-muta marriage and the eating of donkey's meat in the year of the Khaybar battle. Volume 7, Book 67, number 433, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. The Prophet prohibited the eating of donkey's meat on the day of the Battle of Khaybar and allowed the eating of horseflesh. Volume 7, Book 67, number 434, narrated by Al-Bara and Ibn Abi Awfa. The Prophet prohibited the eating of donkey's meat. Volume 7, Book 67, number 435, narrated by Abu Tha'alba. Allah's apostle prohibited the eating of donkey's meat. Volume 7, Book 67, number 435, narrated by Az-Zuri. The Prophet prohibited the eating of beasts having fangs. Volume 7, Book 67, number 436, narrated by Anas bin Malik. Someone came to Allah's apostle and said, "The donkeys have been slaughtered and eaten." Another man came and said, "The donkeys have been destroyed." On that, the Prophet ordered a caller to announce to the people, "Allah and his apostle forbid you to eat the meat of donkeys, for it is impure." Thus the pots were turned upside down while the donkey's meat was boiling in them. Volume 7, Book 67, number 437, narrated by Amr. I said to Jabir bin Zaid, "The people claim that Allah's apostle forbade the eating of donkey's meat." He said, "Al-Hakam bin Amr al-Ghifari used to say so when he was with us, but Ibn Abbas, the great religious learned man, refused to give a final verdict and recited, 'Say, I find not in that which has been inspired to me anything forbidden to be eaten by one who wishes to eat it, unless it be carrion, blood poured forth, or the flesh of swine. 6.145. Volume 7, Book 67, number 438, narrated by Abu Thalaba. Allah's apostle forbade the eating of the meat of beasts having fangs. Volume 7, Book 67, number 439, narrated by Abdullah bin Abbas. Once Allah's apostle passed by a dead sheep and said to the people, "Why don't you use its hide?" They said, "But it is dead," he said, "only eating it is prohibited." Volume 7, Book 67, number 440, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet passed by a dead goat and said, "There is no harm if its owners benefit from its skin." Volume 7, Book 67, number 441, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle said, "None is wounded in Allah's cause but will come on the day of resurrection with his wound bleeding. The thing that will come out of his wound will be the color of blood, but its smell will be the smell of musk." Volume 7, Book 67, number 442, narrated by Abu Musa. The Prophet said, "The example of a good pious companion and an evil one is that of a person carrying musk and another blowing a pair of bellows. The one who is carrying musk will either give you some perfume as a present, or you will buy some from him, or you will get a good smell from him. But the one who is blowing a pair of bellows will either burn your clothes, or you will get a bad smell from him." Volume 7, Book 67, number 443, narrated by Anas bin Malik. Once we provoked a rabbit at Maraz Zaran. The people chased it till they got tired. Then I caught it and brought it to Abu Talha, who slaughtered it and then sent both its pelvic pieces or legs to the Prophet, and the Prophet accepted the present. Volume 7, Book 67, number 444, narrated by Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, "I do not eat mastigur, but I do not prohibit its eating." Volume 7, Book 67, number 445, narrated by Khalid bin al-Walid. Allah's apostle and I entered the house of Maimuna. A roasted mastigur was served. Allah's apostle stretched his hand out to eat of it, but some woman said, "Inform Allah's apostle of what he is about to eat." So they said, "It is mastigur, O Allah's apostle." He withdrew his hand, whereupon I said, "O Allah's apostle, is it unlawful?" He said, "No, but this is not found in the land of my people, so I dislike it." So I pulled the mastigur towards me and ate it while Allah's apostle was looking at me. Volume 7, Book 67, number 446, narrated by Maimuna. A mouse fell into the butterfat and died. The Prophet was asked about that. He said, "Throw away the mouse and the butterfat that surrounded it, and eat the rest of the butterfat." As Samn. Volume 7, Book 67, number 447, narrated by Az-Zuri. Regarding an animal, for example, a mouse or some other animal that had fallen into solid or liquid oil or butterfat. I had been informed that a mouse had died in butterfat, whereupon Allah's apostle ordered that the butterfat near it be thrown away and the rest of the butterfat can be eaten. Volume 7, Book 67, number 448, narrated by Maimuna. The Prophet was asked about a mouse that had fallen into butterfat and died. He said, "Throw away the mouse and the portion of butterfat around it and eat the rest." Volume 7, Book 67, number 450, narrated by Anas. I brought a brother of mine to the Prophet to do tonic for him while the Prophet was in a sheepfold of his, and I saw him branding a sheep. The sub-narrator said, I think Anas said, branding it on the ear. Volume 7, Book 67, number 451, narrated by Rate bin Khadij. I said to the Prophet, "We will be facing the enemy tomorrow and we have no knives for slaughtering." He said, "If you slaughter the animal with anything that causes its blood to flow out, and if Allah's name is mentioned on slaughtering it, eat of it, unless the killing instrument is a tooth or nail. I will tell you why. As for the tooth, it is a bone, and as for the nail, it is the knife of Ethiopians." The quick ones among the people got the war booty while the Prophet was behind the people. So they placed the cooking pots on the fire, but the Prophet ordered the cooking pots to be turned upside down. Then he distributed the war booty among them, considering one camel as equal to 10 sheep. Then a camel belonging to the first party of people ran away, and they had no horses with them. So a man shot it with an arrow, whereby Allah stopped it. The Prophet said, "Of these animals there are some which are as wild beasts. So if any one of them runs away like this, do like this, shoot it with an arrow." Volume 7, Book 67, number 452, Narrated by Rafi bin Khadij, while we were with the Prophet. On a journey, one of the camels ran away. A man shot it with an arrow and stopped it. The Prophet said, "Of these camels some are as wild beasts. So if one of them runs away and you cannot catch it, then do like this, shoot it with an arrow." I said, "O Allah's apostle, sometimes when we are in battles or on a journey, we want to slaughter animals, but we have no knives." He said, "Listen, if you slaughter the animal with anything that causes its blood to flow out, and if Allah's name is mentioned on slaughtering it, eat of it, provided that the slaughtering instrument is not a tooth or a nail, as the tooth is a bone, and the nail is the knife of Ethiopians." Volume 7, Book 69, number 481, narrated by Ibn Umar. Allah's apostle said, "Whoever drinks alcoholic drinks in the world and does not repent, before dying, will be deprived of it in the hereafter." Volume 7, Book 69, number 482, narrated by Abu Huraira. On the night Allah's apostle was taken on a night journey, Miraj, 2 cups, one containing wine and the other milk, were presented to him at Jerusalem. He looked at it and took the cup of milk. Gabriel said, "Praise be to Allah who guided you to Al-Fitra, the right path. If you had taken the cup of wine, your nation would have gone astray." Volume 7, Book 69, number 483, narrated by Anas. I heard from Allah's apostle a narration which none other than I will narrate to you. The Prophet said, "From among the portents of the hour are the following. General ignorance in religious affairs will prevail, religious knowledge will decrease, illegal sexual intercourse will prevail, alcoholic drinks will be drunk in abundance, men will decrease and women will increase so much, so that for every 50 women there will be one man to look after them." Volume 7, Book 69, number 484, narrated by Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "An adulterer, at the time he is committing illegal sexual intercourse, is not a believer, and a person, at the time of drinking an alcoholic drink, is not a believer, and a thief at the time of stealing is not a believer." Ibn Shihab said, "Abdul Malik bin Abi Bakr bin Abdur Rahman bin Al-Harith bin Hisham told me that Abu Bakr used to narrate that narration to him on the authority of Abu Huraira. He used to add that Abu Bakr used to mention, besides the above cases, and he who robs, takes illegally something by force, while the people are looking at him, is not a believer at the time he is robbing, taking." Volume 7, Book 69, number 485, narrated by Ibn Umar. Alcoholic drinks were prohibited by Allah when there was nothing of it, special kind of wine, in Medina. Volume 7, Book 69, number 486, narrated by Anas. Alcoholic drinks were prohibited at the time we could rarely find wine made from grapes in Medina, for most of our liquors were made from unripe and ripe dates. Volume 7, Book 69, number 487, narrated by Ibn Umar. Umar stood up on the pulpit and said, "Now then, prohibition of alcoholic drinks have been revealed, and these drinks are prepared from 5 things, that is, grapes, dates, honey, wheat, or barley, and an alcoholic drink is that disturbs the mind." Volume 7, Book 69, number 488, narrated by Anas bin Malik. I was serving Abu Ubaidah, Abu Talha, and Ubay bin Ka'b with a drink prepared from ripe and unripe dates. Then somebody came to them and said, "Alcoholic drinks have been prohibited." On hearing that, Abu Talha said, "Get up, O Anas, and pour, throw it out." So I poured, threw it out. Volume 7, Book 69, number 489, narrated by Anas, while I was waiting on my uncles and serving them with wine prepared from dates. And I was the youngest of them. It was said, "Alcoholic drinks have been prohibited." So they said to me, "Throw it away." So I threw it away. Volume 7, Book 69, number 490, narrated by Anas bin Malik. Alcoholic drinks were prohibited. At that time, these drinks used to be prepared from unripe and ripe dates. Volume 7, Book 69, number 491, narrated by Aisha. Allah's apostle was asked about albit. He said, "All drinks that intoxicate are unlawful to drink." Volume 7, Book 69, number 492, narrated by Aisha. Allah's apostle was asked about albit, a liquor prepared from honey which the Yemenites used to drink. Allah's apostle said, "All drinks that intoxicate are unlawful to drink." Volume 7, Book 69, number 492, narrated by Aisha. Allah's apostle was asked about albit, a liquor prepared from honey which the Yemenites used to drink. Allah's apostle said, "All drinks that intoxicate are unlawful to drink." Volume 7, Book 69, number 492, narrated by Anas bin Malik. Allah's apostle said, "Do not make drinks in ad-duba, nor in al-muzafat." Abu Huraira used to add to them al-hantam and al-nakir. Volume 7, Book 69, number 493, narrated by Ibn Umar. Umar delivered a sermon on the pulpit of Allah's apostle saying, "Alcoholic drinks were prohibited by divine order, and these drinks used to be prepared from 5 things, that is, grapes, dates, wheat, barley, and honey. Alcoholic drink is that disturbs the mind." Umar added, "I wish Allah's apostle had not left us before he had given us definite verdicts concerning 3 matters, that is, how much a grandfather may inherit of his grandson, the inheritance of al-kalala, the deceased person among whose heirs there is no father or son, and various types of riba, 1, usury." Volume 7, Book 69, number 494, narrated by Umar. Alcoholic drinks are prepared from 5 things, that is, raisins, dates, wheat, barley, and honey. Volume 7, Book 69, number 494, narrated by Abu Amir or Abu Malik al-Ash'ari, that he heard the Prophet saying, "From among my followers there will be some people who will consider illegal sexual intercourse, the wearing of silk, the drinking of alcoholic drinks, and the use of musical instruments as lawful. And there will be some people who will stay near the side of a mountain, and in the evening their shepherd will come to them with their sheep and ask them for something. But they will say to him, 'Return to us tomorrow.' Allah will destroy them during the night and will let the mountain fall on them, and he will transform the rest of them into monkeys and pigs, and they will remain so till the day of resurrection." Volume 7, Book 69, number 495, narrated by Sal Abu Usaid. As-Sa'idi came and invited Allah's apostle on the occasion of his wedding. His wife, who was the bride, was serving them. Do you know what drink she prepared for Allah's apostle? She had soaked some dates in water in a tur overnight. Volume 7, Book 69, number 496, narrated by Jabir. Allah's apostle forbade the use of certain containers, but the Ansar said, "We cannot dispense with them." The Prophet then said, "If so, then use them." Volume 7, Book 69, number 497, narrated by Abdullah bin Amr. When the Prophet forbade the use of certain containers that were used for preparing alcoholic drinks, somebody said to the Prophet, "But not all the people can find skins." So he allowed them to use clay jars not covered with pitch. Volume 7, Book 69, number 498, narrated by Ali. The Prophet forbade the use of ad-duba and al-muzafat. Volume 7, Book 69, number 199, narrated by Al-Amash, as above, 494. Volume 7, Book 69, number 500, narrated by Ibrahim. I asked Al-Aswad, "Did you ask Aisha, mother of the believers, about the containers in which it is disliked to prepare non-alcoholic drinks?" He said, "Yes." I said to her, "O mother of the believers, what containers did the Prophet forbid to use for preparing non-alcoholic drinks?" She said, "The Prophet forbade us, his family, to prepare non-alcoholic drinks in ad-duba and al-muzafat." I asked, "Didn't you mention al-jar and al-hantam?" She said, "I tell what I have heard. Shall I tell you what I have not heard?" Volume 7, Book 69, number 501, narrated by Ash-Shaybani. I heard Abdullah bin Abi Awfa saying, "The Prophet forbade the use of green jars." I said, "Shall we drink out of white jars?" He said, "No." Volume 7, Book 69, number 505, narrated by Anas, while I was serving Abu Talha, Abu Dujana, and Abu Suhail bin al-Baida with a drink made from a mixture of unripe and ripe dates, alcoholic drinks, were made unlawful, whereupon I threw it away, and I was their butler and the youngest of them, and we used to consider that drink as an alcoholic drink in those days. Volume 7, Book 69, number 506, narrated by Jabir. The Prophet forbade the drinking of alcoholic drinks prepared from raisins, dates, unripe dates, and fresh ripe dates. Volume 7, Book 69, number 507, narrated by Abu Qatada. The Prophet forbade the mixing of ripe and unripe dates and also the mixing of dates and raisins for preparing a syrup, but the syrup of each kind of fruit should be prepared separately. One may have such drinks as long as it is fresh. Volume 7, Book 69, number 508, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle was presented a bowl of milk and a bowl of wine on the night he was taken on a journey, Al-Miraj. Volume 7, Book 69, number 509, narrated by al-Fadl. The people doubted whether Allah's apostle was fasting or the day of Arafat or not, so I sent a cup containing milk to him and he drank it. Volume 7, Book 69, number 510, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. Abu Humayd brought a cup of mix from a place called Al-Naqi. Allah's apostle said to him, "Will you not cover it even by placing a stick across its?" Volume 7, Book 69, number 511, narrated by Jabir. Abu Humayd, an Ansari man, came from Anaki carrying a cup of milk to the Prophet. The Prophet said, "Will you not cover it even by placing a stick across it?" Volume 7, Book 69, number 512, narrated by Al-Bara. The Prophet came from Mecca with Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr said, "We passed by a shepherd, and at that time Allah's apostle was thirsty. I milked a little milk in a bowl, and Allah's apostle drank till I was pleased. Suraka bin Jushum came to us riding a horse, chasing us. The Prophet invoked evil upon him, whereupon Suraka requested him not to invoke evil upon him, in which case he would go back. The Prophet agreed." Volume 7, Book 69, number 513, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle said, "The best object of charity is a she-camel which has newly given birth and gives plenty of milk, or a she-goat which gives plenty of milk, and is given to somebody to utilize its milk by milking one bowl in the morning and one in the evening." Volume 7, Book 69, number 514, narrated by Ibn Abbas. Allah's apostle drank milk and then rinsed his mouth and said, "It contains fat." The Prophet added, "I was raised to the loti tree and saw 4 rivers, 2 of which were coming out and 2 going in. Those which were coming out were the Nile and the Euphrates, and those which were going in were 2 rivers in paradise. Then I was given 3 bowls, one containing milk, and another containing honey, and a third containing wine. I took the bowl containing milk and drank it. It was said to me, 'You and your followers will be on the right path of Islam.'" Volume 7, Book 69, number 515, narrated by Anas bin Malik. Abu Talha had the largest number of date palms from amongst the Ansars of Medina. The dearest of his property to him was Bayruha garden, which was facing the Prophet's mosque. Allah's apostle used to enter it and drink of its good fresh water. When the holy verse, "By no means shall you attain righteousness unless you spend in charity of that which you love," 3.92, was revealed, Abu Talha got up and said, "O Allah's apostle, Allah says, 'By no means shall you attain righteousness unless you spend of that which you love, and the dearest of my property to me is the Bayruha garden, and I want to give it in charity in Allah's cause, seeking to be rewarded by Allah for that. So you can spend it, O Allah's apostle, wherever Allah instructs you.'" Allah's apostle said, "Good, that is a perishable or profitable wealth." Abdullah is in doubt as to which word was used. He said, "I have heard what you have said, but in my opinion you'd better give it to your kith and kin." On that Abu Talha said, "I will do so, O Allah's apostle." Abu Talha distributed that garden among his kith and kin and cousins. Volume 7, Book 69, number 516, narrated by Anas bin Malik. I saw Allah's apostle drinking milk. He came to my house and I milked a sheep and then mixed the milk with water from the well for Allah's apostle. He took the bowl and drank, while on his left there was sitting Abu Bakr, and on his right there was a Bedouin. He then gave the remaining milk to the Bedouin and said, the right, first." Volume 7, Book 69, number 517, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. Allah's apostle and one of his companions entered upon an Ansari man, and the Prophet said to him, "If you have water kept overnight in a waterskin, give us, otherwise we will drink water by putting our mouth in it." The man was watering his garden then. He said, "O Allah's apostle, I have water kept overnight, let us go to the shade." So he took them both there and poured water into a bowl and milked a domestic goat of his in it. Allah's apostle drank, and then the man who had come along with him drank. Volume 7, Book 69, number 518, narrated by Aisha. The Prophet used to like sweet edible things, syrup, etc., and honey. Volume 7, Book 69, number 519, narrated by An-Nazal. All came to the gate of the courtyard of the mosque and drank water, while he was standing, and said, "Some people dislike to drink while standing, but I saw the Prophet drinking water, as you have seen me doing now." Volume 7, Book 69, number 520, narrated by An-Nazal bin Sabra. Ali offered the Zuhr prayer and then sat down in the wide courtyard of the mosque of Kufa in order to deal with the affairs of the people till the Asr prayer became due. Then water was brought to him and he drank of it, washed his face, hands, head, and feet. Then he stood up and drank the remaining water while he was standing, and said, "Some people dislike to drink water while standing, thought the Prophet did as I have just done." Volume 7, Book 69, number 521, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet drank Zamzam water while standing. Volume 7, Book 69, number 522, narrated by al-Fadl, daughter of al-Harith. That she sent a bowl of milk to the Prophet while he was standing, at Arafat, in the afternoon of the day of Arafat. He took it in his hands and drank it. Narrated Abu Nader. The Prophet was on the back of his camel. Volume 7, Book 69, number 523, narrated by Anas bin Malik. Milk mixed with water was brought to Allah's apostle while a Bedouin was on his right, and Abu Bakr was on his left. He drank of it, and then gave it to the Bedouin and said, the right first. Volume 7, Book 69, number 524, narrated by Sahl bin Sa'd. Allah's apostle was offered something to drink. He drank of it while on his right was a boy, and on his left were some elderly people. He said to the boy, "May I give these elderly people first?" The boy said, "By Allah, O Allah's apostle, I will not give up my share from you to somebody else." On that, Allah's apostle placed the cup in the hand of that boy. Volume 7, Book 69, number 525, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. The Prophet and one of his companions entered upon an Ansari man. The Prophet and his companion greeted the man, and he replied, "O Allah's apostle, let my father and mother be sacrificed for you. It is hot," while he was watering his garden. The Prophet asked him, "If you have water kept overnight in a water skin, give us, or else we will drink by putting our mouths in the basin." The man was watering the garden. The man said, "O Allah's apostle, I have water kept overnight in a water skin." He went to the shade and poured some water into a bowl and milked some milk from a domestic goat in it. The Prophet drank, and then gave the bowl to the man who had come along with him to drink. Volume 7, Book 69, number 526, narrated by Anas. I was waiting on my uncles, serving them with an alcoholic drink prepared from dates, and I was the youngest of them. Suddenly, it was said that alcoholic drinks had been prohibited, so they said to me, "Throw it away," and I threw it away. The sub-narrator said, I asked Anas what their drink was made from. He replied, "From ripe dates and unripe dates." Volume 7, Book 69, number 527, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. Allah's apostle said, "When night falls, or when it is evening, stop your children from going out, for the devils spread out at that time. But when an hour of the night has passed, release them and close the doors and mention Allah's name, for Satan does not open a closed door. Tie the mouth of your water skin and mention Allah's name. Cover your containers and utensils and mention Allah's name. Cover them even by placing something across it, and extinguish your lamps." Volume 7, Book 69, number 528, narrated by Jabir. Allah's apostle said, "Extinguish the lamps when you go to bed, close your doors, tie the mouths of your water skins, and cover the food and drinks." I think he added, "Even with a stick you place across the container." Volume 7, Book 69, number 529, narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Allah's apostle forbade the bending of the mouths of water skins for the sake of drinking from them. Volume 7, Book 69, number 530, narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. I heard Allah's apostle forbidding the drinking of water by bending the mouths of water skins, that is, drinking from the mouths directly. Volume 7, Book 69, number 531, narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle forbade drinking directly from the mouth of a water skin or other leather containers, and forbade preventing one's neighbor from fixing a peg in the wall of one's house. Volume 7, Book 69, number 532, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet forbade the drinking of water directly from the mouth of a water skin. Volume 7, Book 69, number 533, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet forbade the drinking of water direct from the mouth of a water skin. Volume 7, Book 69, number 534, narrated by Abu Qatada. Allah's apostle said, "When you drink water, do not breathe in the vessel, and when you urinate, do not touch your penis with your right hand, and when you cleanse yourself after defecation, do not use your right hand." Volume 7, Book 69, number 535, narrated by Thumama bin Abdullah. Anas used to breathe twice or thrice in the vessel while drinking, and used to say that the Prophet used to take 3 breaths while drinking. Volume 7, Book 69, number 536, narrated by Ibn Abi Layla. While Hudayta was at Madain, he asked for water. The chief of the village brought him a silver vessel. Hudayfa threw it away and said, "I have thrown it away because I told him not to use it, but he has not stopped using it." The Prophet forbade us to wear clothes of silk or dibaj, and to drink in gold or silver utensils, and said, "These things are for them, unbelievers, in this world, and for you, Muslims, in the hereafter." Volume 7, Book 69, number 537, narrated by Hudayfa. The Prophet said, "Do not drink in gold or silver utensils, and do not wear clothes of silk or dibaj, for these things are for them, unbelievers, in this world, and for you in the hereafter." Volume 7, Book 69, number 538, narrated by Salama, the wife of the Prophet. Allah's apostle said, "He who drinks in silver utensils is only filling his abdomen with hellfire." Volume 7, Book 69, number 539, narrated by Al-Bara bin Azib. Allah's apostle ordered us to do 7 things and forbade us from 7. He ordered us to visit the sick, to follow funeral processions, to say, to a sneezer, "May Allah bestow His mercy on you," if he says, "Praise be to Allah," to accept invitations, to greet everybody, to help the oppressed, and to help others to fulfill their oaths. He forbade us to wear gold rings, to drink in silver utensils, to use mayathir, silken carpets placed on saddles, to wear al-kisi, a kind of silken cloth, to wear silk, dibaj or istabrak, 2 kinds of silk. Volume 7, Book 69, number 540, narrated by al-Fadl, that the people were in doubt whether the Prophet was fasting on the day of Arafat or not, so a wooden drinking vessel full of milk was sent to him, and he drank it. Volume 7, Book 69, number 541, narrated by Sal bin Sa'd. An Arab lady was mentioned to the Prophet, so he asked Abu Usaid as-Sa'idi to send for her, and he sent for her, and she came and stayed in the castle of Bani Sa'idah. The Prophet came out and went to her and entered upon her. Behold, it was a lady sitting with a drooping head. When the Prophet spoke to her, she said, "I seek refuge with Allah from you." He said, "I grant you refuge from me." They said to her, "Do you know who this is?" She said, "No." They said, "This is Allah's apostle who has come to command your hand in marriage." She said, "I am very unlucky to lose this chance." Then the Prophet and his companions went towards the shed of Bani Sa'idah and sat there. Then he said, "Give us water, O Saul." So I took out this drinking bowl and gave them water in it. The sub-narrator added, "Saul took out for us that very drinking bowl, and we all drank from it." Later on, Umar bin Abdul Aziz requested Saul to give it to him as a present, and he gave it to him as a present. Volume 7, Book 69, number 542, narrated by Asim al-Awwal. I saw the drinking bowl of the Prophet with Anas bin Malik, and it had been broken, and he had mended it with silver plates. That drinking bowl was quite wide and made of nadar wood. Anas said, "I gave water to the Prophet in that bowl more than so-and-so for a long period." Ibn Sirin said, "Around that bowl there was an iron ring, and Anas wanted to replace it with a silver or gold ring. But Abu Talha said to him, 'Do not change a thing that Allah's apostle has made.' So Anas left it as it was." Volume 7, Book 69, number 543, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. I was with the Prophet, and the time for the Asr prayer became due. We had no water with us except a little which was put in a vessel and was brought to the Prophet. He put his hand into it and spread out his fingers and then said, "Come along, hurry up, all those who want to perform ablution. The blessing is from Allah." I saw the water gushing out from his fingers. So the people performed the ablution and drank, and I tried to drink more of that water, beyond my thirst and capacity, for I knew that it was a blessing. The sub-narrator said, I asked Jabir, "How many persons were you then?" He replied, "We were 1,400 men." Salim said, Jabir said 1,500.